in 2020. Global and also in Tanzania is Predictive Analytics Lab Limited in 2023. And all this was driven by the growing need of for data-driven business solutions. And what some of the things that services that we offer are basically in training. And in training, we have different approaches that we normally use. One is technical vertical. And in technical vertical, we normally do data science, business intelligence. We also offer coding for kids and data engineering and also cybersecurity. And we also have another mode, which is industrial vertical, where we normally offer training in specific analytics training for maybe telecoms and also banking and also insurance industries. The third one is a professional vertical, where we normally tailor the program for the HR analytics, marketing analytics, and also supply chain analytics. And another service that we normally offer is we normally develop machine learning softwares for companies and which are AI powered, so that which normally do recommendations for maybe customer insights and also fraud detections and also predictive modeling for forecasting and also business intelligence tools that are used for actionable insights. And another one, the third service that we normally offer is data strategy and consulting. And in data strategy and consulting, we normally offer data assessment and big data strategy development. And we also design and maintain robust data systems and data mining analysis, and also do talent acquisitions and develop data-driven initiatives. So that's basically what Predictive Analytics Lab is all about. And allow me now to now shift my attention now to the webinar that we're having today. So this webinar is part of our mission to empower professionals and with tools and techniques like the prompt engineering, and also to stay ahead in their careers. And today we are privileged to have an accomplished speaker who is Abraham Mayo. And Abraham Mayo is a highly skilled and technically proficient in business analyst, and with over 8 years of experience in bridging gap between business objectives and also technical solutions. And I believe his expertise are the key core that have made us have him speaking to us this day. So allow me to just give a few housekeeping prints and that we'll be having. So in case you have a question that you would want to ask, I would request that we share them on the chat box, so that after the speakers finish speaking, we are able now to answer the questions on at the Q&A session that will be at the end of the webinar. And also just to notify everyone, the webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with you for reference after the session. So without much further ado, allow me to welcome Abraham, so that he can take over the session and also enlighten us more about the prompt engineering. Karibu sana, Abraham.
Thank you so much, Joel, for that wonderful introduction. Let me just show. So as you already know, my name is Abraham Mayo, and welcome for this session where we'll be handling the prompt engineering. I'm a business analyst by profession, and it happens also that I've handled data analytics. So we can begin. So allow me to share my screen. Just see. Just a minute. So this is where we begin. We'll be looking at ways on how to chat rather than doing the hard coding or even having that mindset of having to think hard. We need to chat and talk to AI for it to give us solutions. And to begin with, just to make sure that we have the layout, we'll look at who we are in the first place and business analysis versus data analysis. I know there are those of us who would ask, okay, so where do I begin in terms of what they are looking up to in this particular webinar? Is basically to understand who you are and where you want to get it or to get to the next level. And we have the business analyst, we have data analyst, and as you can see from here, we have other roles as well. And the use of data keeps on increasing. Before the business analyst, you would have the business analysis, who basically probably to write the user stories and to come up with requirements. And the use of data keeps on increasing. And for this particular case, the point of convergence is the use of data. A business analyst concentrates more on business requirements, and in that way, they can be able to come up with the business requirement documentation, the user stories and all that. But then the data analyst concentrates more on data to inform decisions. A decision which could be the source, could be the business analyst or even the business itself, let's say the business executives. And in some organizations, you realize that the role of business analyst and data analysis is handled by probably one person if the organization is small. In some organization, you find that these particular roles are disintegrated even further, and you would have different roles to suit this. You would have, let's say, the business analysis, then business analyst, data analyst, then data scientist, the machine learning expert. In between here, you could have someone doing the data engineering part of it. So that's basically to know who we are, and where to start is basically that desire that you have. Okay, you want to learn data, and that's the start. Now, the next step would be to accommodate the basics. You don't have to be a computer scientist. You don't have to be a statistician for you to start in this particular field. That desire is good enough. And now, having the background and desire to understand this, then just to learn about the basic tools as you upgrade bit by bit. I would advocate that probably you start with Excel, then go to data analysis tools like Python, R, all that. Then now you can go further in terms of doing the visualization tools like Power BI, W, the Looker from Google and all that. So basically that's the transition. And the agenda for the day is basically generative AI. This generative AI is composed of two items. We have the generative and we have AI. AI basically stands for artificial intelligence. And you cannot know generative AI if you don't know what artificial intelligence is. Artificial intelligence is a way machines would want to do the jobs that human beings would basically do. Okay, think of doing the summation 1 + 1, that is equal to 2, and be it washing dishes. That's where robotics come in, okay? So those particular jobs that you think that human beings is basically for human beings, not any other thing. And now you are using the machines, let's say the computers, robots, and all that, all falls into an umbrella of artificial intelligence. There is a subset of artificial intelligence called machine learning. This way, you don't have to do the coding. As the name suggests, machines learn on their own for it to give an output. You don't need to do the hard coding. You don't need to, basically give in the inputs and formulas. Rather, if you feed some data and probably some outputs, the machines would be able to learn out of it. Beyond that, we have what we call deep learning. It's a branch of machine learning where they try to mimic the human brain. We understand that the human brain is made of neurons. And using the neural network, then the machines are able to go further from the broad machine learning and the artificial intelligence. Beyond that, we have now the discussion for today, which is generative AI. Generative means machines, instead of learning from past data, it learns from what you give as an input, basically saying a prompt, or that's what I would call a prompt. So you give an input, the machine learns from that, and it gives you output based on the input. And it learns from that. It can search from the internet, search from the past data, but basically the learning happens with the input that you share. Okay, without much ado, the power of AI tools, it helps us to enhance the capabilities that we have, no matter the role. Could be data analyst role, the business analysis role, could be another role, including procurement, HR, all those particular roles. The generative AI models enhances your capability in doing them. It doesn't remove you, or it doesn't replace you or substitute you from the job that you do at the moment. Okay, so you can use that to enhance your productivity, and hence the subtitle that we shared: chart your way to greater productivity and success. As a data analyst, as a business analyst, you are able to give prompts to generative AI. And to mention, I know the household name is ChatGPT, but there exist other, I would say, competitors of ChatGPT. Talk about Google Bard, which at the moment they are called Gemini. We have other ones like the Microsoft Copilot, and we have other specializations. The one that are tailored to make presentations, the one that are tailored to come up with, let's say, project management tools. There is one that is specifically designed for data analysts, for example, and you can search internet and you'll be able to get all these particular tools. I even remember a situation where back then we used to use Corel Draw and Photoshop to come up with images and all that. But now with the power of generative AI, you just prompt and say, I need an image that looks like this with this kind of background, and it will give you. You don't need to do spend the entire day to come up with a photo, or come up with a design that you have in your mind. You can even have your own image and say, probably take yourself to a place, let's say Cairo, and you want to be seen with a pyramid, the Photoshops or the old times. And the generative AI would be able to give that output. Now, when it comes to your work as a data analyst, as a business analyst, or whichever role, you would be able to give an input. Okay, I want this, and generative AI would be able to give you the same way a human person would have done, an expert, an SME for that matter. So if I go to the next slide, where we talking about the basic prompting techniques. With this, if I give, let's say, person X, this ChatGPT, tell it what you want from it. Someone would just say, I need a CV. Okay, so that is at the very basic level. Assuming you want to apply for a job at Predictive, I need a CV, and ChatGPT or whichever generative AI tool that you're using would be able to give you that CV. But would it really go hand in hand with what Predictive has advertised? Probably no. And in this way, we need to give more context. Okay, clarify instructions with specific context. I need, or probably start with who you are. I'm a business analyst, I'm a data analyst, I'm a data manager, I'm person X. I need a CV that is for this particular job. Away from basic prompting techniques, the one that I've mentioned, and we are going to look at it, using the ChatGPT itself, how to go about it, is that we have other techniques which has some formulas. And for this particular case, I will introduce a formula here called RTF. You specify the role, I think I've alluded to this, the tasks that you want, and also the format. So if you are a data analyst, for example, that you are dealing with renovation of a project, you first introduce yourself. I'm a data analyst, basically defining the role. Where are you? What do you want to achieve? Okay, I'm a data analyst tasked with evaluating risks for renovation project, transforming wing into an outpatient clinic. So there's an outpatient clinic somewhere that you need to transform. Okay, as a data analyst, you've been tasked for you to evaluate the risks. Go and to clearly define the tasks that the AI must perform. Okay, so how do you handle it? Is basically I have given a context in the name of a role and what we are trying to achieve. The next part would be to define that task. What do you want the ChatGPT, the Geminis to do, the co-pilots? You want it to analyze, let's say, the historical data related to that construction delay, budget trends. If you understand what risk is, then you just basically input those items that are related to risk. Construction delay, budget could be, it could be over budget or under budget, something like that. One of them is a good risk. Patient safety and operational impacts. You are able to tell ChatGPT or Gemini, this is what I want you to do, analyze historical data. And based on this analysis, probably your target was to create a dashboard to visualize risk levels, categories, trends, and key metrics. Okay, then the other way would be now, after analyzing this, what kind of format do you want? Okay, then the format would be a dashboard, basically what I've introduced here in the task definition. So you specify the structure. If you are coming up with a research proposal and you need, let's say, 1,000 pages, okay, so you need to specify that I need 1,000 pages or 1,000 words. I think words is the one which is commonly used as opposed to pages, and you would use that. So that's the RTF formula: role, task, and format. Who you are, then followed by what do you want the AI tool to perform, and lastly, the format of output. The second, or rather the third, because we've handled the basics, where you just tell, hey, I need my CV, or rather, I'm a data analyst, I need a CV. Then this one is the RTF, role, task, and format. And this gives more context in terms of what do you want to achieve, especially what are you aiming at and the format that you need. The third formula is create. It's an advancement of what we've talked about, the RTF. We have character, request, examples, adjustments and constraints, type of output, as well as evaluation and steps. For you to understand this more, I'm going to take us through this example that we have. So each and every paragraph here is assigned to that specific thing that you are looking at. So a character is more like a role that we talked about in RTF. So you are a skilled. So give adjective to your role. You are a skilled data analyst. You are, those good adjectives that you normally put on your CV, specializing in, for example, a pricing engine modeling for e-commerce. So you have an e-commerce site, and you want to optimize your pricing engine. And in the character, you have to also mention about your task. So I'm person X. Remember to put adjectives. Your task is to do this, then end it there. The request, more like the task in the other formula. You want to create a dynamic pricing model or optimization model for categories like regular products, promotions, and discounts. Mention them. The best way, and this is what I like most about this formula, is you need to give examples. Okay, ensure that the model is flexible for real-time adjustments, something like that, and compile with pricing policies such as pricing floors and ceilings. In these examples, and we'll be able to see it more when doing the practical, is that, and as mentioned during the definition, you can be able to give an example, okay? So based on this example, I need you to derive something related to this, of course, or modify with this. And the prompting, by prompting that, you'll be able to get your desired, goal, or rather the desired output. Then the adjustments and constraints, are there anything that, or is there anything that you need to put as a constraint in terms of the margins and elasticity levels? Then you need to mention them. What kind of output do you want? Do you want a model? Do you want a dashboard? Then you would be able to define under the types of output. Evaluation and steps. So ensure that the model is scalable and adaptable to continuous optimization. Basically telling them that, or telling the generative AI that this is not the end. I would want to use this, in future, and should be easily scalable and adaptable, or rather, it should be easily understood by someone who is not skilled. Okay, so those are the steps, and this covers, the three formulas, and we are going to look at these three formulas, basic prompt, the RTF, and create all of them. And beyond that, we can, let me see, yeah. So just this is prompting refinement iterations. We are going to look at this and even the ethical concerns that are in using the AI tools, and if there is need for human oversight compliance. So you'll find that there are some organizations that have what I would call enterprise tools for them just to have human oversight, just to have compliance to what you are using. Because you would try to imagine you sharing sensitive information to the AI tools. It might not be ideal because, as we know, that can be used for other businesses. And more so when you are in a competitive environment, you wouldn't want items or anything related confidential to your organization, or that puts your organization in another level to be leaked to your competition, because basically you'll be out of business, if I must say. And in this, just to elevate the insights or what we gain from having the correct prompting techniques, is that it would be able to streamline your tasks. An item that you could do in 2 hours. Let me take a case example of a business case. A business case would take, traditionally even up to a week just to come up with a good business case. But thanks to generative AI, and if you craft that precise prompts, you'll be able to automate and come up with a good business case within minutes. That way, you would have a lot of time to do other strategic things. The other thing is it can generate insights which, to you or to me, we couldn't be able to see. We are used to probably analyzing the categorical data, or let's say the numerical data and all that. But with generative AI, you are able to see complex relationships that you could not be able to decipher. And the other thing, this reminds me of a conversation that we're having with some colleagues, that once they receive email, the first thing would be to throw it to ChatGPT and the likes, then tell them, hey, respond to this email. And a friend of mine was even talking much further on how they've integrated with the organization, so that once you receive email, you are able to, it's able to give you suggestions on how to respond. Okay, so AI is able to generate content that is feedback to your emails. It can be able to generate visualizations if you so desire to your emails, and even summarize engagements to stakeholders. Talking about communications, this takes the game further when it comes to customer experience, where you have the chat tools like the chat bots and all that. So generative AI is able to query your system, and beyond that, able to respond to customer requests. Okay, you don't have to receive an email, read, understand, then go and try to search. You don't know where that particular item is in the first place. You don't know the database, and if you know the database, you don't know the tables. It becomes a whole challenge. But thanks to generative AI or the new age, you are able now to, based on those particular inputs, receive the output or the desired visualization or content that you desire. And believe me not, the customer would be, customer satisfaction level would go up, because I'm happy when I get a response that I need real time, rather than taking ages, weeks, or stuff like that. Then in the case of experiments, at times you would want to experiment something. And generative AI is able to learn, and from the definition that we mentioned, is that it gives you output based, or it learns based on the input. So you'll be able to give an input, and beyond that, be able to scope it further and reach to a level where you can, you can have what we call the continuous improvement. When it comes to strategies, we'll see this, how we'll use the advanced techniques like prompt chaining. And let me give an example of CVs. I don't know why I'm inclined to that. You are applying for a job and you have a CV. Okay, you've made the correct prompt. I'm a data analyst, experienced one with, let's say, 5 years experience. These are the tools that I know: R, Python, Power BI, name them, Google Studio, all that. And it ends there, and I'm applying for this particular job, data analyst at Predictive Analytics. It ends there. So generate a CV. That one is high level. When it comes to chaining, when it comes to chaining, what it needs to be done basically is to break it down. I need a professional profile, pick it up. I need, these are the places that I've worked. These are the roles that I was doing. Break them down further. Give me work experience. Then it will be able to give you that breakdown. Then you go further to professional experience, professional certifications. List them down. The referees, how it will handle it better for you to get that particular job. So it will be able to do that. So it's good to break it down, and that's what we are calling chaining. In the world of data analytics, we know the data analysis process. You first of all have to understand the problem. Beyond understanding the problem, you need to know the sources of data. Is it in your database? Do you need to fetch it outside there? And after that, explore your data. First, get the descriptive, that chain. So instead of telling the generative AI tools, the Geminis and ChatGPT, that I need a model from this data, Then chaining tells you that, hey, stop here. First of all, this is the problem that I have. Can you refine it? Then it refines for you the problem. Okay, I have X, Y, and Z sources of data. And if it's a database, for example, then these are the tables that we have, and these are the relationships that we have on these tables, and they have these particular fields. Can you write for me an SQL code, for example, to extract this data? ChatGPT or generative AI is able to do that. Go a step further. I need to do, let's say, explorative data analysis. It explore for you. Do the descriptive, then the numerical analysis, and that. If you need to do the feature engineering, follow that process, the models, up to the step of training your data set. Then now your model, it will give you the output. So basically, if you are handling a complex problem, what you need to do is to handle step by step, one at a time. These are the real world applications, and luckily we've talked about them: the report generation, the financial analysis, increasing your productivity, and something else. At some point, I was doing market research, and it can be hectic at times, more so when you don't have the resources to go and collect that data or gather data. The analysis part, if you have the correct data, is a bit easy. The hardest part is getting the correct data and cleaning it. And what most market researchers do is basically to source for data for already done work, assuming this is something that has already been done. And to ease that, then the prompt AI models is able to assist you gather that data, conduct the marketing or competitor analysis for you, and even generate the reports that we've talked around here. Okay, then the other applications, again, the chatbots. When the customer inquire about something, about your business needs, about the services that you offer, these are the things that are already on your websites or is seated somewhere. So the AI is able to give or feedback immediately based on the input. The other thing that I mentioned, of course, is able to go beyond the basics. If you have items in the system, then it's able to query that. At the moment when you follow depending on the industry that you are able to see some developments. People no longer talk about, let's say, ChatGPT, for example, but they talk about an AI tool that solves a problem that belongs to a specific segment or specific professionals. You wouldn't, no, let's take a case example of data analysis. You would, if you search for a tool that does data analysis based on prompts, you'll be able to get that. If you are in, let's say, project management, if you need it, then you will get it. So it's gone beyond the basics or the umbrella or the generative to specific to now the specific to an industry or specific to professionals. And that's the beauty of it, because you'll be able to get refined solutions. Okay, so for the case of customers, think yourself as a customer. And that's why you talk about the chatbots. Okay, going beyond that, we need to, I've talked about this, breaking down tasks into manageable sequences, and so that you have the structured responses, like multifaceted inquiries, like coming up with the pricing engine or pricing optimization. Then you need to break it from step one to the last. If you are in the financial industry, come up with some forecasts or some healthcare assessments. When you are doing the diagnosis, for example, then you'll be able to have visibility of that. I think that is it for that. Then we look at ethics. Ethics is to basically to ensure that your sensitive information doesn't go outside there. And if it goes outside there, then there need to be some safeguard. I've talked about the enterprise tools. So you'll be able to use the enterprise tools because it comes with an additional layer of security. Okay, so that is it. And looking at the future of prompt engineering, and we've looked at that AI, machine learning, deep learning, now generative AI. I'm thinking something out of generative AI would come in. And this skill, I must say, is very important as a business and data analyst because it prepares you for the next level. And the advancements that comes into place, we can always imagine of, at the moment, really think about the future, think about what the AI capabilities that are in place. And we've gotten to a point where you have to think of a solution and through strategic, if you have some R&D, for example, you'll be able to achieve that. So AI basically think, then it will come, of course, if you have some investments into it. So the next part will be looking at the practical aspect of what we've discussed. But in case there's any question to that end, then we would be, for now, we can fetch one or two questions before we go to the practical session. I think the beauty of this is doing it practically. If you have any question, I can see, let me see if we can have visibility on that on the chat. Just a moment. Okay, no questions so far. So let's go to the practical part. So in this exercise, I'll be using ChatGPT primarily, but then the techniques that we've learned can be extended to other other tools that you have. Okay, so let me have this. Someone is requesting that we repeat the one on iterative refinement. Let me get that slide. Yeah. I believe this is the one. So iterative refinement, it means doing more like the chains that I mentioned before, doing one at a time. And we are going to look at this practically. So let's dive into it so that we see how we can be able to handle one item at a time. So instead of having, I used a case example of a CV. So instead of having the entire CV, you can be able to break it down into, let's say, the professional profile, the work experience, the portfolio, if it falls into your CV. So one item at a time. I think that should be okay now, so that we proceed to the practical session. Great. Thank you for that. So just a minute as I prepare for that, let me load my screen so that we proceed. Okay, so this is what we have in terms of the ChatGPT screen. If you open yours, you'll be able to have something like this. And just an introduction for those of us probably who've never interacted with it before. At the top right, you're able to see the kind of plans that you have. You are able to see the ChatGPTs or the GPTs that you have. And you can even create one. So here, so to mention something is that I'm using the paid version. And this, of course, what if you are using the unpaid or the basic plan, then you would find that there are some features which might not be available. But let's focus on this. You are able, under settings, you are able to have some settings here. Of course, connect your profile, let's say, to your LinkedIn, GitHub, and the rest. Under the data controls, do you want to export data? Then you would be able to manage this. And something else, the personalization. How do you want to manage your memory? Would you want this to be erased after, let's say, 30 days or not? You are able to manage it there. And at the general, let me see this in terms of the language, auto detect. This is good. Then something else is something that I'm looking for. Just a minute. Personalization, custom instructions. Yes, this is the one. So under personalizations, you can be able to set. So instead of writing every time, so if you are doing a repetitive job, instead of writing every time that I'm a business analyst, I'm a data analyst, I'm an engineer, that I need to perform this job, under custom instructions, you are able to give that. So this one, for example, I'm a business analyst working on this, what you need to do, then that way. Then the kind of output you are able to give in the next step. So that's how to perform it. So instead of every time I need you to create a task, I need you to perform this analysis, you are able to perform that under custom instructions. Something else is that if you need to create a new one, of course, you click on the ChatGPT here, and up here you can be able to see the versions that we have. We have the 4.0 or 4.0 that we have here. So this is basically the basic plan, and we have this one, the legacy model. Okay, so, and we used to have the ChatGPT 3.5, but then I think this is what is used at the moment. Yes, you are able to upload files. Yes, you are able to create image, brains to analyze data and more, but then it is limited. You are not able to do that beyond a specific period. With these four, then you can be able to do more in terms of doing the analysis, uploading data, and refining it. For now, something else that I have not touched, yes, this one, explore GPTs. So they are specialized, as I mentioned before. if you want a website generator, so what we have here is they've managed to inbuild other AI tools like the website generator. If you need to have a code, just something to write code, then you would have it here. Image generation, Canva, this is for design and presentations. If you are working in research or academia, you have yours here called Scholar. And what else? There is a lot here to be offered. Video, presentations and slides, and just this one is bringing your imaginations into imagery, the one that I talked about. I want this kind of an image and it will give you. And our focus for today would be just to use the 4.0 and focus on this, the data analyst. We can use this one for our analysis. Something else, of course, you can enhance this. You can go on and on, even for research and all that. So to begin with, let me use a case example of I need a model. So your end goal is to have a model, but you've told GPT or ChatGPT that you need a model just like that. So this is very basic prompt. Okay, let me just go to new chat. So we need to scale the techniques that we've learned. So I need a model. I need a model. Let's say pricing model. And see what it will give us without, further information. Luckily, this gives us more context in terms of to create a pricing model. It advises us the 4.0 might not 4 might not be able to give you all these details. So it tells us if we need a pricing model, then we need to give the objective, let's say the definition, how we collecting data, the cost analysis, basically the data analysis process. So this is what we have here, how you are going to test and refine your model, then implementation and modeling. So basically giving us the data analysis or data analytic steps, okay? So if you want to come up with a model, then this is what you would do. And has it achieved what we wanted? The answer is no. Okay. What if we go a step further and say, let's use the RTF. So an experienced data analysts with over 10 years experience. With 15 years of experience. So basically you've introduced yourself, then what else? The task now that you are doing, a brief overview of that. We are working on coming up with a pricing engine for e-commerce sites. So basically you've done your R, that's the role, that's what you are doing. Then the T, the task, now you need to explain further. Okay, so this e-commerce deals with what? Does it deal with all the products? And what will you be looking at in order to come up with the pricing or the pricing optimization, something like that? Then we'll be able to mention here that the e-commerce site is handling, I should have typed this earlier on, is handling clothing of course globe. Just to give more context, probably in your database, you have 4 tables for sales, revenue, let's say regions. What else you could be having there? The clothes, something like that. Then what do you want? I need. Now give what you need. That is in terms of the last part of it, of the RTF. What do you need? I need probably step by step, or so at the moment, if I mention that I need a pricing engine or a pricing model, I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to get that in the way that I want, because one, I've not shared the data set or even the fields that are in those particular tables. So probably I can mention it for the case of the RTF formula, so that we see how refined is it from this one. Okay. So we're working on that, then handling, I need a pricing model. You can even go further using a particular tool using Python. Of course, the sentence structure might not be good enough, but it's good for us to just evaluate using the basic prompt. Now we're having a different prompt in terms of enhancing what we already have, giving more context. Okay, so we can click this and see the output. So again, it gives us, step by step. So basically, it tells us to combine data for sales revenue regions into a single data frame for analysis, and do the exploratory data analysis, feature engineering if there's need be, the model selection, the model training, model evaluation, and all that. And it advises us on how to evaluate our model. So using the RMSE or MEA, this is good enough, but you are advised to prompt it further. Okay, so probably give an example of code, telling it to do more beyond just basic, because here we've not provided a CSV or something like that, but we are telling it to give us a code. So if you have this is loading data from the CSV files. So these are the Python codes using let's go up. So it has done justice for us here. So breaking this down. So here is where you just import your data and preview using the head. Then it does the merging for you. So these are the codes to merge, and you can be able to see this on region ID, assuming this is the shared ID. And we have this, how to clean your data, and it tells you exactly what to do. So it's able to clean your data and perform the EDA like that. And lastly, be able to plot this. And as you can see, that's why you need the human brain somehow, because it has ended at exploratory data analysis, but you can tell it, hey, further, because I need a model. Okay, a code for training this particular model, and it will give you, and even evaluating that particular model, a code on the techniques on how to perform a model selection. It will be able to do that. Okay, so that is it for the two kind of prompts. We've been able to see the basic one, how we can obtain just a basic definition of it, further explanation by giving more context, telling us what to do, and with an additional prompt, hey, give us an example of code, then it's able to give you what you need to do. So what you need to do is to copy this, then take it to your EDI that you are using to program. And this is an example of Python. You can give an example of Excel. You can give an example of R or any other tool. the tool that I've never tried is the BI tools, the Power BI and W using the chat. So I'm trying to imagine how that would be. So this is what we have here. And to take this step further, beyond the data analysis, we are going to get back to this. And I'm seeing a chat here. So to remind about the business analysis, creation of tasks. So this is basically, when it comes to, of course, we are going to dive that in further by looking at a concrete example. For now, we've been able to see how we can generate the codes. And when it comes to the business analysis is basically requirements. Okay, so you're working on coming up with, let's say, hospital software. So this is basically a basic example. So come up with requirements. Something else to mention, come up with requirements is so basic. You need to add, remember, the adjectives, comprehensive, and to end or something like that. Add as many adjectives as possible and give more context. So that this is, as a business analyst, this is what you can do. So basically, what I did here under settings is I gave a custom prompt for it to be giving me the layout. But here, beyond this, I could give, let's say, give an example. Okay, so that's the next step for those of us who we want only the layout. So the custom prompt here is just the layout, but you can ask for an example here. Okay. And here is an example for the hospital record system requirements. Okay. So that's how it's done. And it goes ahead even to give you the user stories, the acceptance criteria, the details in as much as what you would want to obtain that. Then go in to data fields for patient profiles, basically the requirements. And mind you, if you give more context, then it will give you, more refined output. So the key thing is, when dealing with this, ask for more, or rather create a more context. If you need a project plan for this, then you can just ask, I need a project plan for this. For now, before going back to data analysis, I need to check on this, the user stories. So user stories usually follows this. As a healthcare provider, Dr. Nurse, I need to be able to access patients' complete medical history from a centralized system to provide informed medical care. So this is an example of a user story, but for you to be able to channel it to, let's say, the developers and all that, then you'll be able to pick this and, let's say, create a user story. Create a user story for the below. You remember the format? So in the format of user story of the UDP, it's called user description. UDP acceptance criteria, because there is need for acceptance criteria. Then what do we call this? The testing steps. Yeah. So basically telling this chat what to do with that. Then I place this one here. So you need a user story in the below format. You need a UDP acceptance criteria testing steps. Then click OK. So here is a structured format. And in most cases, this is the format that follows. You need a UDP. This is the acceptance criteria. And these are the testing steps. And that is it. So you would be able to, let's say, perform the functional test, log in into that healthcare provider, access the medical history of the patient, check for the conditions, prescriptions, lab results, all that. Check if there's a real-time update. So you perform a test on that, perform a test on security compliance, interface usability test, and all that. So in some cases, you would want to know one acceptance criteria per user story. So you'll be able to tell ChatGPT to do that, and it will be able to give you. If you don't want to have headers, for example, just prompt it and say probably bullets are sufficient. No need for sub headers. So that it's something that is flows. No need for subheadings. Click OK, and it will give you that. So this is the user story. This is acceptance criteria. There is no much details into it. And you can refine this further, as I mentioned, so that you have one acceptance criteria per, or rather one user story per acceptance criteria. That's it for business analysis. You can be able to refine this further. Okay, so just learn how to prompt, give more context, give the desired results. If you have some inputs, some data already within, within what you have, try to give that so that it can be able to give you refined solutions. We could go on and on, of course, to ask for a project plan for this. You can ask for that and it will give you. So for now, we can go back to where we had started. That is the data analysis. So here, now, we are working on project X, and you need to give certain or analyze this data. For now, I need to show you how, let's say, let me upload a certain file here, just an image. Yeah, this one is a schema. A schema is basically how data is, the relationships for the tables in the database. So we have the star schema, snowflake, and all that. So, but that's not for this. But just know that a schema is basically how tables are related, and they're usually linked using the secondary keys. Okay. And this way, if you have such kind of or your database is designed this way, you have products table, you have countries, you have financials, you have segments, and you have date table. Okay, there is the importance of this. So you have products, financials, you have all these tables. And this is your database. What's the next step? You would want to probably retrieve data. And the way to retrieve data in most cases is probably using the SQL code. So I have this, just click here and say, analyze the relationships. First of all, the relationships. And just like that. So it tells us what it does. So this BI schema diagram features several tables. As you've seen, we have the products table, we have the financial table, we have countries table, and we have segments table, and lastly, the date table. Okay, so what do you want to do next is probably you want an SQL code. So write, um, it's not an, but SQL code to retrieve. You could see let me see this. Products, if sales, product, region in a specific, okay, this is, the where clause, so this is in a specific period. So just to add that, so let's see what it does. So it makes some assumptions there, but of course you can be able to retrieve this further. Okay, so you've seen, so this is a basic code to tell us that you need to select product, region, the summation of sales as total sales from a financial table, join using this. So it does joins for 3 tables because we've mentioned an item to do with sales and product, and also we mentioned something to do with periods. And when we say per region in a specific period, that's where a where clause would come in. So start and end date. Then you need to group by region and product. Okay, so this, you can be able to write complex SQL codes based on this, okay? So that's what we have here. And of course, it gives you even explanations of what it has achieved, what group by means, what order by means, what the sum function does. And you will be able to copy this and paste it to your, let's say, the Python R in order to retrieve this data from database, from your database. Okay, so this is it from just understanding the relationships and querying data from database. As I mentioned, you can be able to write even much more complex codes than what you've seen here. You copy this, then translate. You would need just to counter check, by pulling data using this code and see that probably what you've retrieved is correct or meets your needs. That is it for retrieving data. In the next part, we are going to, assuming we have some data, which I have here. So let me pick this from Cargo. So this is data for churn modeling. So pick this. So this is CSV data. Then here, save, just a simple thing, save this data for further analysis. You remember the chaining, or rather the iterative. So I just need to save this for further analysis. And hopefully it tells me this has been saved. Okay, we can be, okay. So we have this. I think it still refers back to the SQL query that I had mentioned before. In this case, it's advisable that I begin a new chat, or even tell the ChatGPT that I'm beginning a new assignment, so that it doesn't refer to what I input before. As mentioned, generative AI learns from the inputs. So I'll have this. Just save this data for further analysis, for further reference. Okay, so this has been saved. I just need now to follow the flow of chaining, and this way I'll be able to give instructions one by one. So after uploading data, or you've gotten the source of your data, what's the next step in data analysis? Probably to perform the descriptive analysis. So let's say perform the descriptive of the fields. If you don't want it to have in ChatGPT, then you can write here, probably write or give a Python code. Python, what am I writing? Python code. Okay, and output as well, because you would want to preview here that performs all the data. You can refine the sentences more and more. Click OK. I've written Python instead of Python, but well and good. So here is the descriptive analysis. We have 10,000 entries. That's quite huge. Then the credit score, we have 850 to 850, average of that. So this is basically the descriptive analysis of this. And if you want the Python code, then you can be able to view the analysis here, just to import, then perform. Of course, if you are dealing with a new item, or rather a new data set in your Python, PyCharm, or whatever, or notebook, whatever you need to use then is to say, of course, let's say, write a code that loads data. You'll be able to copy this. Okay. Assuming this data is saved in this folder. Okay. Then under the name data, or rather Chan modeling, this is the file name. And you need to change this to suit the files that you have, or even you can file path that you have. You can instruct ChatGPT to do that. Then to perform descriptive analysis, then look at this. Description, data.describe. So if you know this, then you will be able to copy that, and it gives you this output. The result, the row number, 10,000. How many are unique? Okay, so this, you are able to see this. You realize that unique, top, and frequency, this is applicable to categorical variables, which, let me see if, yeah, we have, okay. Okay, we can ask it to separate. So because you see that some have none, some we have some values that Smith 32, while the rest are none. So we can ask the ChatGPT to split this. Let's say rework, while splitting categorical and numeric variables. So we will rework on that. So we were to give just an highlight of what this data is. You tell someone 10,000. What about the credit score? You are able to give a range, age, especially the average age, 38, tenure. You are able to have a preview of that. So this has been worked, and we have now the separation of, let's say, the numeric variables, and we have the categorical variables. As you can see, it talks about the uniqueness. The most common, that's the mode, and that is it. The code also split this. You are able to have the numeric columns description, and you can be able to see the categorical columns description. And the output are the two. And here, if we see this, then you are able to see that the categorical variables have been put in the same, in the same place. Here we are having all these in one instance. That is it for descriptive analysis. Beyond the descriptive analysis, the next step would be to perform the EDA. So let's say perform, get my spelling, perform exploratory data analysis. You can write here, remember the adjectives, comprehensive, something like that, at least. That's the next step, to perform comprehensive exploratory or comprehensive EDA. So give it some time to analyze. Well, I think that comprehensive has had an impact. Okay, there we go. You see this distribution here, you can be able to download this. You can be able to view it. Okay, this is what we have. We can see that the credit score is normally distributed. Here we have an outlier. That's in terms of the ownership. You can tell a lot about this. In terms of tenure, almost flat. Okay, then in terms of number of products, all this. So this is what you have. And if you need a code for this, then you basically click this one, view analysis, and using matplotlib, then you are able to analyze this, copy this, then extract it further. If there's any EDA that needs to be done that has not been done, just instruct here that, hey, this has not been done, I need it out or something. So of course, reduce that. Beyond EDA, what else would you want to do? This reminds me that, okay, we were able to see this even in your report. Hey, you have a code, and this is massive. You have a code. At the same time, you have what to put in your report. Okay, so talk about the distribution here, as mentioned, normally distributed with a peak of this. Then slide skew, talk about age distribution, right skewed, probably a large number of bank customers are younger. Balanced distribution, you are able to read this and interpret to your audience. Okay, so that's basically the EDA. Okay, what would you want to predict, just to make it quick? If you want to predict the churn rate based on other variables, so let's see this. Come up with the model to predict churn rate. This is the common problem for most businesses, especially the retail one. You'd want to predict the churn rate based on variables. You would want to give a description for that, or rather an adjective for the variables. So what variables are you looking at? There's a name to it, it's just slipped off my mind. Based on, okay, I can just have variables for now. Shared, but there's an adjective to it. Come up with a predictive, okay, this. Dataset. Would appreciate a code. Okay, I'm trying to speak like human. Appreciate Python code or the same. There we go. So after analyzing this, of course, the next step is to do data cleaning. If you realize that this outlier needs to be removed, then that's basically what you do. If there's something here that I saw, let's open this. So based on your EDA, you realize some things which are a bit off, like this one, which is an outlier. In terms of age, at times you might realize that there is NaH or something, so you would want to clean that. When you have categorical variables, we have Kenya, then someone has written Kenya, then you would want to write a code to clean your data. In terms of if you have leading spaces, and leading spaces, spelling mistakes, you would want to rectify before going to modeling. But this, in the interest of time, and I know the key thing here is just to understand how to prompt. So for my case, I've gone straight to creating a model. And this is what we have. So it has created a model which evaluation metrics accuracy of 86%, which is quite high. This is the evaluation matrix, and it tells us how the precision for class A. So it gives the class 0 and 1, non-exited and exited, and the reliability of our model 88%, 75% for exited. You have the S scores, F1 scores around this place. Then that is it. And this is our code. If you want this to provide you with other models, you can be able to prompt that as well. And with this, so having evaluated our model accuracy and all that, we can call it a day. So you've been able to see how we can be able to move from one step to another. And basically, the key thing here is to have the art of prompting, how to talk to ChatGPT, Gemini, and Microsoft Copilot, or whatever tool that you're using, that you want to use. The key thing, share as much information as possible in terms of the context. At this stage, I would want to welcome questions. Thank you. Let me see the chat. Okay, someone is requesting about the payment. So you pay $20 monthly to access ChatGPT 4. Okay, I think that's the only question that you have. If you would want to speak, you can raise your hand, then we'll be able to unmute your mic. Okay, I would believe that you are satisfied. Back to you, John.
Thank you very much, Abraham, for that insightful session. I believe everyone has been able to capture one or two things that they'll be able to apply in their workflows. And just to appreciate everyone that took the time to attend this webinar. As we normally say in Predictive Analytics Lab, that the best investment that one can do is add a skill to yourself. And we appreciate you taking your time. And at Predictive Analytics Lab, we are committed to empowering professionals like you with the skills and also tools to thrive in the data-driven world. And if you have any other questions, and maybe you might be needing to know more about Predictive Analytics Lab, kindly just feel free to visit our offices at Westlands. We are located along Muzizi Road. The building is the Westery, second floor, suite 2C. So feel free to pay us a visit, and we'll be able now to work with you through this journey. And we look forward to seeing you in our future events and training sessions. We normally have trainings for the data science and also for the business intelligence. So until then, stay inspired and keep learning and make the most of the opportunities that technology brings to your career. Thank you very much. And if there is no any other questions, I would wish that we close it at that, because I see that we are all past time with 2 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
I can see some questions there, Joel, in terms of the courses being paid for. Then I would be able to handle the first one.
Okay, thank you. So, I see, Jacqueline, the course is paid for. Yeah, we normally charge for the trainings. We normally have virtual trainings and also physical trainings. The physical trainings normally happens at our offices in Westlands, and we also have the live virtual classes. So in case you do want to know more, you can just send a text to the number that I'll just paste down there, so that you can communicate more. Back to you, Abraham.
Okay, thank you so much, Janet, for that feedback. Boaz, you are asking if data analyst or scientist beginner struggling to create your portfolio and you would want to see how you can use generative AI to build your portfolio. Okay. No, I think that's a comment. So I know now that you've understood how you can come up with the codes, to create your portfolio, and you would be able to, have that in, let's say, GitHub or the place where you want to share your portfolio. So that is it. I think that's it, Joel. We can call it a day. Have a productive week. Thank you.
Thank you.